Today, we're going to talk to Amanda Varnell about DishT'Pass and all of her different seasons of this one company and in life. So Experience Talks is a monthly talk, usually the first Wednesday of every month that we host for the INCubator. We bring in experts from different industries, and we decided that we were going to keep it light, keep it happy, more on the tail end of a year that's had lots of highs and lows. And so we're going to talk about, entertaining resilience. We were just talking about that before we went live, how important it is to remain resilient. What just came up, inner circle. But I do want to talk about here was one of my goals. You have this fantastic dish that is my favorite called Jezebel.
Oh, the Jezebel sauce.
And the chicken. So we at least have to talk about some cool recipes. Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yes.
And even though gatherings will be a little bit smaller, give us a couple of ideas for some good eats.
I can do all of that, Alexa.
Okay, cool. It's a little all over the place. I feel like, we already decided this is going to be like two girlfriends catching up. So
there you go.
Y'all hang on to your seats.
So for people that don't know, so I'm actually Amanda Nelson Varnell, and there's a whole story. Yeah, okay. So my maiden name is Nelson, and I was hyphenated last name for years. Okay. And a few years ago, I started, but then at some point I dropped the Nelson. It was just Amanda Varnell because it was easier. Like, where do I file her under N, under V? It was always seemed to be so confusing. So, but many years ago, I divorced. And so I started putting the Nelson hyphen Varnell back in. Mm-hmm. And then a few years ago, I found myself in a second chapter relationship. And we had this conversation about my name, particularly as earlier this year, we made the decision that we will be getting married. Woo-hoo! And so I actually decided, but we had a conversation about the hyphen and what a hyphen means. And so I actually dropped the hyphen, but I'm still keeping the Varnell. So I'm Amanda Nelson Varnell. No hyphen.
Amanda Nelson Varnell. Okay, got it.
Isn't that crazy? Okay, so that's me. That's where I am right there. But DishT'Pass was the business that I opened in 2012 that set out, initially it was DishT'Pass Cooking School and Catering Company, because it was founded on kind of the back of a former business that I had that I ran out of my home called Cooking Live with Amanda Varnell, that taught cooking classes focused around the family dinner table. And really what I wanted to do was to open a bricks and mortar to expand that business. And I had a business partner at the time that was very interested in having a food entity of some sort. So as we joined forces, the idea of having a catering company, we did a lot of research. We actually went through, we did some coaching definitely from the INCubator. And then I had gone through the precursor to co-starters. So if you're in Chattanooga, you know what co-starters is. They actually had a course prior to that called Springboard.
Yeah.
I had gone through Springboard when I had Cooking Live. And so anyway, so we did a lot of research and realized that a standalone recreational cooking school is a tough thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so we knew we needed a partner. It was something, so we partnered it with catering. We opened in the fall of 2012. Mm-hmm. And what we really didn't know, I had no idea, was how the catering would just explode. And so it was really a perfect time, as you alluded in your introduction, that you kind of came on the scene. We all kind of came on the scene because that was when Collab really took off. They started the gig tank and all those different things. And so we began in that whole kind of tech startup-y where everybody gets fed, and, that was big then. Yeah. And so we did box lunches. We did, all kinds of things like that. We first opened. And so we were everywhere at once. And what happened was we really couldn't keep the pace of doing cooking classes in the evening and catering all day because we were very small at that point. I mean, there were just, two of us full time and then about 2 or 3 people doing part time. So I couldn't start my morning at Sam's Club at 7 a.m. and teach a cooking class that started at 6:30. That didn't end until 8 or 8:30 and start all over again. Because I'm also mom of 4. And at the time, my oldest had just left for college and my other 3 were at home. I was in the middle of divorcing. And so I had them every other week. So there was just not enough to go around.
Wow. Yeah.
So slowly DishT'Pass evolved into primarily corporate catering. We held on to cooking classes in the form of corporate team building events and did all kinds of things for our corporate clients. But, and then by the time we got to the beginning of 2020, we were full on large events, private and corporate. We were on all of the lists at all of the venues in town, the major venues. And this was going to be our $1 million year.
Yeah.
So,
and
then Alexis, I got on a plane in the end of February to go to France for 5 weeks. I was taking a vacation with my boyfriend. Mm-hmm. I was then also rolling that into a sabbatical. I've been working on 2 books for the last 2 years. So I was going to work then on the books as well. And, I'd really worked super hard last year, 2019, to get this perfect team in place. Mm-hmm. I had 10 full-time employees at that time. And so everybody was in their lane. It was just awesome. So I flew to France. I actually this will get to know me a little bit better, on February 29th, which is Leap Day or Sadie Hawkins Day, yeah. I actually proposed to my boyfriend. I totally surprised him because for the 5 years prior to that, I just kept telling him how I never wanted to get married again. Oh. He did not see it coming. Not see it coming to the point that I had a beautiful signet ring made for him through Fisher Evans, another small business in town. Yeah. As I was putting the ring on the table and he was realizing what was happening, he had this out of body. He's like, "Are you proposing to me?" And I'm like, "I am." He was like, "Yes." And it was crazy. Yes, that was really fun. So we were at this pinnacle. We're in France, one of the most romantic countries in the world. I have one daughter. She's number 3 in the lineup of 4, and she's actually living there. She was working as an au pair at the time. She's now this year in university over there. But so we were making our way through doing a driving tour, connected with Sophia, spent a week with her, put Monty on the plane, and the next day the country shut down. Wow. As I was leaving to drive to the sea to this cute little Airbnb where I was going to spend 2 weeks. So I went from being probably at truly one of the highest points of my adult life, my business that I had worked really, really hard on. I'm going to get emotional, really, really hard on.
You did.
And when you're an entrepreneur, when I say I worked really hard, I don't mean like I came in early a couple days a week and stayed early or stayed late a couple days a week. I mean like full on 70 to 90 hours a week, catering very physical work. At one point I had to stop and have reconstructive surgery on my Achilles because I literally just was wearing myself down. And so, but I'm very proud of all that and very proud of all the people, particularly the people that I had worked so hard to find and that were, it was magical. And so, so I went from thinking that I was going to have 2 weeks to really focus on this project, maybe wrap it up that I'd been working on for a couple of years on the side, which are these 2 books. And instead ended up coming home and furloughing my team. And within 4 weeks, we had the tornado, of course. That was huge for Chattanooga at the time, Easter Sunday. And then the week of that, found out that my co-tenant was closing, had terminated his lease. And then my landlord then closed the building. So I was losing my kitchen. So it's a lot of changes in 30 days.
I was going to say, so let's pause there for, I mean, you're newly engaged, about to write your New York
Times bestseller. Yeah, come back, have a kick-ass year.
I mean, and you were headed to the coast of France to write your hello.
I mean, it could have been right. And and my partner has a lot of exciting things going on in his life as well. And so it was our big thing. Yeah. And then we were coming home to really then just knock 2020 out. And it was, going to be one for the record books. And it has been one for the record books.
It has.
It's just not what we thought it would be. And so I would be lying if I pretended like I took it in stride. I didn't take it in stride. I really tried to fight. I tried to figure out, what made the most sense. I definitely, in regards to this virus, lean very much on the cautious side. I believe it is real. Mm-hmm. I believe we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. And as much as I love my clients and I love my staff, I just don't think that large group catering or catering in general is worth dying for.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so adding then the added hiccup of losing the space and having to figure out then what to do about that, just in the face of all this uncertainty. I actually had been working with a life coach for about almost 2 years at that point. And so I made several calls actually over a couple of weeks, and just kind of talked through all of it. I made lists of if I could do anything, what would I do? If I, all of those things to just kind of see what resonated with me. And what really came back, kept coming back, is that my first love truly is family and the family dinner table. Mm. I taught and spoke on that for 6 years before I opened DishT'Pass. And even as I was growing DishT'Pass and building that business, and it really evolved into something other than what I initially thought it would be, I still, anytime I had the chance, the invitation to speak about the family dinner table, or to talk to parents, or to talk to the chamber, or anything about the importance of the family dinner table, I just leapt at it. I just love it. And so I realized I will never really have this opportunity again where, so maybe this, maybe this is what I should do. And so it was hard and painful. And I didn't realize at the time that I made the decision to just all the logistics, not just the physical logistics of moving out of the kitchen, which was going to happen anyway, but like shutting down a business, like the books of all of it, when you return deposits to people, like that, I had to open up my sales taxes then and file amended returns on all those months that those deposits had been taken in. And, it was just, it took me till October 15th when taxes were due to get it all done. So wow. I know. It's a lot, Alexis.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's one of the details you don't think about, day to day as an entrepreneur. It's just like, especially in that industry where you're planning, you probably had events planned all the way into next year.
Definitely. I had things in 2021. But mostly through 2020 though. I had 23 deposits that I had to return. All of those were weddings. Mm-hmm. So, because what was happening is as we were reaching out to our brides, and their families, what we were finding was it's like, oh, well, we know we're going to move, we're going to bump our event, and we're going to reduce the count. And so will I actually get some money back? It's like, it's not exactly how, yeah. So, but again, I think what hurt me most was, because at the time I was Zooming with my staff once a week just to keep in touch, even though they were all furloughed. And I think the hardest thing I've ever done was that Zoom.
Yeah.
To just say, listen, guys, I've made this decision.
Mhm.
And I know, the hard part I think about all of this, Alexis, and I know you know all about the Enneagram stuff. I just in the last couple of years got into Enneagram. So
it's a new thing for me too.
Okay, so I'm a helper, so two's the
Uh-huh.
helper. And then 3, I think, is the enthusiast or something like that, like public speaker, that kind of thing. So I'm a 2 with a 3 wing. And so, it's for me to have to look everybody in the face, just like I'm looking in your face now, and just to say, I'm making a decision that makes sense for me personally. And I know, though, it's going to, be hard for all of you all. That was the hardest thing I think I've ever done. And I miss them so much. And and it's ushered in this really crazy season where one day I'm super excited because I am in this creative space. I will be pushing the first of the 2 books out called Cooking for Your Week. Will come out just after the first of the year. We're self-publishing. I've launched a whole business around it called Cooking for Your Week. You can find cookingforyourweek.com. It's a membership that is based around, it's like a cooking class on steroids for the family dinner table. So I produce 2 videos for them a month. I go live in a private group with coaching twice a month. And then there's a lot of other add-ons that they get as a part of the membership. And I launched that actually in September. So we've been rolling now. We're in our 2nd month of actually up with dripping out the content. So creating all of that has been fun. Like, I love it. It's exciting. But all the extra time that I have, like I was a mom of 4, full-time stay-at-home mom of 4 for 15 years, then kind of took on the part-time teaching Cooking Live, which was a part-time job from 2006 to 2012, and then into just opening my own business, which then, took off like gangbusters. So literally my whole adult life, I've gotten up for other people. I've had somebody else I'd had to get up for. So even if I didn't feel like it, I had to. You know this. You have to get up.
Right in the middle of that season.
Yeah. Well, my youngest son turned 18 this summer and graduated from high school.
Oh, wow.
And my business is closed.
So you've got
So now I'm just like,
you got the space.
Who am I?
Yeah.
And you actually think that you're going to be super excited when this day comes. And maybe if it had happened in a different way without the immense amount of loss. So loss of revenue, which means income for me, loss of, my staff, my client, just loss of a way of life. I've had definitely a lot of days that were not as pretty as others.
Yeah.
So, all right. What else do you want to know?
Amanda, where do we even go from here? We might as well just be like, all right, we're done.
We can talk about food.
Talk's over.
We can talk about food and all of that too.
Okay, let's talk about food and the family dinner table, because inside of the pandemic, the family dinner table has become more important. At least in my household, at least. I'm probably in everyone else, because people stop going out to eat, or they're to go and coming back home. Me and the girls, we're cooking together more. I'm figuring we're trying new foods together. We'll do stir fry this week,
Because how old is Boom now?
Boom's 13.
Oh.
I have a teenager and a toddler.
She is just ready for all of this. So Cooking for Your Week and the family dinner table, really what I have a method that's called Plan Prep, Put It All Together. But basically you spend a couple of hours once a quarter making 4 weeks worth of menus, right? Using in those little, overlapping ingredients, things you're looking for continuity, right?
Okay.
And how to have the conversation with the people you cook for and with. So definitely talking with Boom about it. And then how then once you've done your planning, so you've made those 4 weeks, then you have and the grocery list that kind of goes with it. You then can just rotate through those, and you don't have to do them in order. So like you could do week 1, week 2, week 3. You know what? We loved week 1 so much. Let's do week 1 again. But you got that resource done. And then as you move into the prep phase and as you prep as you go, I have all kinds of just tips and tricks to maximize your time in the kitchen and really maximize the use of your appliances. So when you're using your oven, why not have that Instapot going, right? Maximizing your freezer so that you're doubling up on, what kind of things you can double up on and why. And we're not talking like old school chicken casseroles. I mean, like how you can cook up proteins and then what that, those things can turn into then as you, continue through your week and your month and all that. But then putting it all together, just quick recipes, like things like tacos and stir fry and, all those things that are very family friendly and can make a lot of just palates happy, right? Because not everybody eats everything. And so how can we do a lot of more build your own kind of things for families? So
this sounds like a dream come true. I call myself trying to try a new recipe, and I bought this packet of, it was a marinade for carne asada. And so I was all excited, and I get home and I'm like, I saute the beef and the onions and the peppers and all that, and I put the packet in there. And then I make up the tortillas for the girls, and the meat was so spicy. Ruined about 2 pounds of beef and peppers and onions. Like I couldn't feed it.
Because it was too much for the kids.
It was too much. It was too much for me. So I know it was too much for the kids. And we tried dousing it with sour cream. It just didn't.
Yeah.
And so it was a whole night of
spice mixes are hard for sure. Yeah. Definitely the key to those, because I'm a huge proponent of them. I'm especially a huge proponent of Alchemy Spice Company, like all of their blends. They have like you literally could take your chicken or your steak around the world with their blends. But I love pre-made sauces. I love all of those things. I think for the weeknight cook, those kind of things are gold, as opposed to having a spice cabinet that is full of all these individual things. Yeah. No, buy pre-made sauces, buy pre-made marinades, buy those things that's not cheating. That is getting it done. Right? That's awesome.
Well, I learned the hard way. It wasn't the right.
Yeah. The key though, I think, Alexis, is just to know to read the ingredients. So, the way it's listed in order of, how they list it in order is the quantity that's in it. Okay. And so like if it led with cayenne, that's going to be a blow your head off.
I know now, and it sounds so simple. Read the back of the package. This is
you're not right. It's easy for me to say because you right now have literally BB is like an octopus, right? If she's with you, she is like, oh. I mean, I started going shopping when I was at home. I started going shopping at Walmart at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And I don't even know that's an option right now to go that early. But I would go and do all that and then come home before the day got going. So I didn't have to take them with me.
Oh, she is. And I think in that one particular time, because it was where all the salsa and all that.
So colorful, bright, exciting. We need all these things, Mom. Yeah.
Yes. So to have a plan, that to me is the hardest part, is to have a plan.
Right.
Because like I went to a big box store last week, bought a bunch of stuff, spent over $100, and then I looked in the refrigerator and I was
I got nothing.
Nothing.
We cannot eat hummus for dinner every night. Yeah.
Like nothing. I can't eat nothing. I had to buy all this stuff and nothing matches. Nothing.
Right. So that whole idea of overlapping ingredients, and it's much like as you work with entrepreneurs all the time, there are things that come to us that aren't easy for us, right? I'm sure getting your entrepreneurs to sit down, because I know I need to be doing one right now, writing a business plan.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, like, I actually have launched this business.
It's like,
probably should at some point. Monty was asking me the other day when when do you know you can actually hire a VA? Like how many members do you have to get until you can afford a VA? And I'm like, not quite sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a very money question too.
Yeah. But doing that homework, right?
Uh-huh.
And so there are things that all of us push off in our lives that we're like, I just don't want to do that. It's not fun. But and I know that if I sat down and did a business plan and did then I would know I would know what to expect. There would be a certain amount of, okay, so it's good. I'm still at 75 members, but I know once I get to 80 members, I can do X, Y, and Z. So my marketing needs to be pushing to that, whatever. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so as then the fixer of food in your house, right? Mm-hmm. If you spend just a couple of hours crafting 4 weeks of menus where ingredients do overlap. Mm-hmm. So you could roast up a couple chickens and know that one night we're having pulled chicken tacos, one night we're having chicken fried rice, one night we're having, King Ranch mac and cheese with the chicken, like all of those things. You've got that mapped out. You've got your grocery list. This is what I know, even with your little, download little recipes to go with it. Mm-hmm. Once you've done that, and then do it maybe 2 or 3 additional times that year. Mm-hmm. So for each season, because, we kind of eat different seasonally.
Yeah. Yep.
You basically have done your work for the next 2 or 3 years, because families really get a rotation of things in their repertoire. And you're going to want to try, you're going to want to build some space in for like Try It Tuesday or, mm-hmm. I don't even know. I love alliteration, but something that goes with Friday, like, Fun Friday, and you're going to try something new. Yeah. But you really don't want to do that more than really a couple times a month, because mm-hmm. you're just stressing yourself out.
Yeah.
And then you've overcome so many things. The biggest reason why people don't, like when you make that decision at 4:30 or 5, somebody's saying, what's for dinner? And no matter how much we've spent at the big box, yeah, we're in that moment making anywhere from a $20 to $50 to $60, depending on the size of your family, decision mm-hmm. to eat out or to eat what we have at home. Mm-hmm. And the hardest thing is just decision fatigue. People don't want to make another decision. So if you spend that time, then when Boom says, hey, Mom, what's for dinner? You're like, hey, get that ground beef out. And we're going to make the tacos. Or anyway, so definitely planning, spending a couple of hours making that plan, and you don't have to. So I also am just doing coaching. So if you wanted just to work with me for an hour, for me to just help you get organized in regards to that, looking at the family dinner table, mm-hmm. meal prep, all of that, I do virtual coaching like this as well. So
that's so cool. We mm-hmm. get coaching for fitness.
Like mom.
We get life coaching. We need like this kind of, it's the family dinner table coach.
Yeah.
You, right?
Yeah. And the family dinner table specialist, and just all that encompasses, because I definitely have systems I developed when I was parenting mm-hmm. in regards to things like chores, mm-hmm. in regards to things, even like privileges. I mean, we always had a thing called Kid of the Day. And Kid of the Day got all the things that the kids fought over. So in my life, there was a best seat in the van. At dinner, they always wanted to sit next to Mom. Why, I do not know. But that was a fought over seat or a thing. Like all of the privileges, right? Like who got to hand out the dessert, because you always get the best piece when you're, like all of the things. But Kid of the Day also had the chores.
Yeah.
So now in your instance where you have when Boom's the Kid of the Day, it would look very different from
when baby's kid.
Right. But for a lot of families, but Boom is really at the age, I mean, like where I would be coaching her is, I mean, all of the simple meal prep and stuff, mm-hmm. she can be learning to do and executing. And it's not, I mean, like, those are great life skills. Like when we're thinking, I mean, now that she's 13, you know, your focus changes from inward, like family focused, to be more externally focused. Like, how am I preparing her for life?
Right. You know, this is a big question I think about all the time. I'm just like, lately it's been, boom, figure it out. But my sister and I are 10 years apart, and she called me this week, and she was like, I don't know how to put a grocery list together. She has a 5-month-old, so she knows how to shop for the baby, of course, but this is her first apartment, living on her own, and she's like, how did mom keep groceries in the fridge? I'm like, I don't know. To this day, I still feel like it was magic, you know, but
well, if it,
like, what do I go to the store and get? What do I
maybe to encourage? I mean, like, so I was kind of also in that situation. So my mom was in the first generation of women who worked because they could, not because they had to.
Yep.
So she really, what she wanted for me was not to be a homemaker, right? I was a big professional, you know, that's what she wanted. So what she didn't know is that I was a 2 Enneagram, and I'm a Virgo. So like I'm only going to be nesting in home. Like
boom is a Virgo.
Yeah. So even my work life is all food and comfort and coaching and momming people. I don't mom-splain. So I mom-splain people. Right? My kids accuse me of that all the time. But here's the deal. I was your sister. I had a baby on my hip and one on the way. And I was like, I've got to figure this out. And I did, much like I turned to older women in my life who were further ahead of me on the journey. Mentoring. It was mentoring, Alexis, is what it is. Yeah. I mean, we need professional mentors. And for me, at that time, my choice was to be a full-time stay-at-home mom. In fact, I read a book called Professionalizing Motherhood, and it talked about this. Like, we need to look at all of the careers and how do we have continuing education? How do we have mentors? How do we have networking events? How all those, and we need to apply that then to parenting as well. Because how do we know? We don't learn this stuff by osmosis unless your mom actually sat down and said, okay, girls, this is the magic. This is how I managed to get it done. You don't just know this stuff. So anyway, but I had women in my life that kind of coached me through it. And then because I think by nature, I do love to organize. I'm a list maker, all of those things. Then it didn't take long for me to develop kind of my own systems that worked for me. And then because we chose to be a big family, I intentionally had 4 children. It was always kind of a dream of mine. You have to become systemized. Like, you have to. And so then when I was invited to start teaching, so in 2006 was when Brainerd Baptist Church opened the BX, which is there in Brainerd, Family Life Center.
2006, okay.
And so they invited people to come and teach things. And so I had, somebody suggest to me that I might want to teach cooking, and I was like, I would love to do that. So I did, and that's really how I got my start. And just teaching what I had really developed with my own crew, and then it just went from there. But definitely there are some hacks to making a great grocery list. One, just to kind of think about the departments in the grocery store, like produce department, meat department, dairy, and make your list. That is much better if you go into the store with an organized list. You will get out of that store so much quicker than if your list is just all mixed up.
They probably look at me like I'm bananas because I feel like I shoot through the store. I don't even look. I'm just like, juice here. I know I need bell peppers here, spinach, and just dumping it in the basket. If I see a friend, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Because I know it's only, especially if I have BB with me, I'm on a countdown. I have about 30, 45 minutes to get in and out of the store.
And as she gets a little bit bigger too, then you can put her in charge of something like a highlighter and the list, and she can highlight the things.
That's so sweet.
As you get them, right? Because you have to engage them. Otherwise, Otherwise, it's a battle. Yeah.
I know.
And I was always about the bribery. I'm like, if you can make it through the entire store without asking me for anything, without fighting with your, what any of the negative things that they potentially could do, if you can make it all the way through, then there'll be a treat at the end.
I'll have to do that with Boom. BB, if I give her a cookie on the way in, she's fine.
Yeah. She'll outgrow that eventually.
Oh, no.
You have to stay. What we have to do, we don't have to know their path 5 years from now, but we do have to stay just a couple of weeks ahead of them.
Yes. Yeah. She's becoming more and more independent. BB will clear the table. She'll dump it all in the sink, even though she can't see. Just crashes into the sink. But she now, if she wants a snack, she'll march her little self into the kitchen and get what she wants out of the fridge or the Lazy Susan.
Right.
And she did that this morning, and about 2 a.m, I was like, where is she? And I wake up and she's coming back to the bed with a snack. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to start again with a system where on the bottom shelf of the refrigerator is stuff that's all ready for her to grab and go. And even in the Lazy Susan stuff, she can, if it's a Pop-Tart, she loves Ritz crackers or something. Yeah. Pretzels that she can grab on her own. Yeah, I was like, it's no more just, I need to put something in place for both of them. And now that we're shifting back to virtual, it's going to be even more. And my grocery bills are astronomical now.
Well, and having a plan and then knowing, what are the snack foods? What are the things that go for meals and being strategic about that. But then with Boom back at home, even just making life skills a part of her day. And some of that can be just packaging up snacks, prepping stuff for herself and her sister and for you. I mean, that's the thing too, as a mom, you've got to fuel yourself in healthy ways so that you are kind of at the top of your game as well. Mm-hmm.
Which, usually it's about them and on the go,
Right. And there's nothing wrong with putting your oxygen mask on first.
Exactly. I agree. I talk to my finance coach about this all the time because I like to get my nails done. And so when she sees that line item on my budget, she's like, you sure you don't want to take this out? And I'm like, no, it's my one thing.
Right.
It needs to be more than one thing, but.
No, I think you're right. And it will change. I mean, it might not always be nails. It might move to massage. It might move to something else, but making sure that you're taking care of yourself and fueling and all of those things are so important, for the adults in the home so that we do take care of our children well and that we're modeling good life and life skills to them as well.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about self-care a little bit, moving into the holidays. I remember my mom being up until 3-4 in the morning cooking Thanksgiving dinner. And we had this big spread and a mess in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But staying up till 3-4 in the morning, cooking, entertaining, setting the table, cleaning the table. Well, usually that was my role. We would give her a break at that point. But
good.
But still, I don't want to do that. I'm the host this year. And so
I think expectations have changed a little bit through the years. I mean, I know even just in the 15 years that I've kind of been in this space of teaching and coaching about cooking and all of that, things have definitely, expectations, utilizing local businesses for some of it, right? So either outsourcing your turkey or outsourcing the sides or a mix thereof. I don't think anybody would turn a nose up at that. I mean, I think that is legit, And then I think this year, so what I have been teaching is, with the uncertainty of the pandemic and the fact that we have been definitely told to keep our groups smaller or make sure they're outdoors or in a very well ventilated space, is also the idea of not a giant buffet. So really just narrowing it down to 2 or 3, really awesome side dishes.
Yep.
And having one masked, gloved person serve the food.
Yep.
And it's impossible to dish up plates with 8 different side dishes. So we need to make some choices, and then other things are like making things that can be made in individual portions too. So like a sweet potato casserole, you can actually make sweet potato casserole. You can, instead of just putting it all in one Pyrex dish or baking dish, you could use like little ramekins, you can use little teacups, any ball jars, and put the filling and then the topping and then just bake those individually. Same with stuffing, does that well. Mashed potatoes would do that. So, find all just little containers, again, so you're eliminating the need for everybody digging into a buffet, right? Yeah. Single served things. I made the other day for a video for my membership, mini pie. So using a muffin pan and then putting in just, not that you can't cut and serve pie, but it's just this idea that everything is kind of individual. You could make little, I've got my brother and sister-in-law and my little nephews are coming up from Texas, and we're going to actually do kind of a picnic Thanksgiving. So these little mini pies will go in just like the equivalent of a boxed lunch, right?
That's a neat idea.
You just have to be it's weird this year. It's peculiar. That's the word that I've been using. A peculiar Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, I've been thinking through what that looks. Definitely outsourcing like the big stuff like the turkey. I don't want to be up till 2 a.m. Creating a spreadsheet of what the menu is and who's responsible.
Oh yeah, definitely now. I was actually watching a piece this morning, I think it was on the Today Show, talking about the fact that we may have some shortages of things just because supply chains have been kind of disrupted throughout the year for things. So that, if you make your list now, and if you're in the store and you see items that you're going to need, go ahead and pick them up and freeze them. So that even if, we're only 2 weeks out now, it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. So
yeah,
you need to make your menu today.
Yes, I have my menu together. It's just,
and then also really just even think about, so now that we're this close to the end of the year, is even just thinking of making 2 weeks worth of menus at a time for your family. And then again, having that plan in place for your everyday eating will free up a little bit of time for you to do the special kind of cooking that happens this year, especially if you're going to do any gifts from the kitchen, make any cookies for teacher gifts or whatever. So that's what I got for you. So DishT'Pass itself, I did want to say this a few minutes ago. So DishT'Pass still exists as a virtual cooking school.
Okay.
And what I'm doing with that, if people want to curate classes, so if you wanted to call and have me put together a class with multiple devices across the city or across the country, I can do that. I also, giving back to our community has always been a huge, huge thing for me. In fact, 8 to 10% of our revenues every year consistently were given back from DishT'Pass. I still want to do that. So I've been working with nonprofit entities. I did, I'm trying to think of all the ones I've been doing, but I know definitely Wine Over Water. I'm doing something for Rotaract this week, something for UTC alumni is coming up. So all of these opportunities to do classes and events for groups that also serve as fundraisers for those groups, I'm doing through DishT'Pass. Okay. Now, how that will continue after 2020, I'm not really sure yet. I think most of my energies will go into the new venture, which is Cooking for Your Week.
Yep.
And I'm still kind of figuring that out. I've got to get a handle on creating a content calendar, talk about more homework that I've been pushing off, but an actual content calendar for social media so that I'm creating things in advance and, getting those out. Those are things that are, as an entrepreneur, hard for me to do, but you've got to knuckle down. And they were all things that I was able to for years out, give to other people.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the hard part. I'm back to being a one-woman show again. And that is, all of a sudden you can see where your strengths and weaknesses are, which is probably a good thing. That's a good thing to tell entrepreneurs, like really to do an honest assessment from the beginning of your strengths and your weaknesses, and definitely hire people to take care of the things that are imperative to your business running smoothly. If they're weaknesses.
anytime you're in the lead and have a staff, that's what we did. That's why we hired Victoria. Victoria, I don't know where I would be without Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a mess.
And it actually frees you up, because I think there is this mindset of I can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happens is anytime you make that leap to stretch the company, to hire somebody you're not sure you're going to afford, all of a sudden you're freer, though, to go do those revenue generating things. Right. If you're not tied to all the things, right, that you were trying to do that weren't a good fit for you to be doing personally. So, mm-hmm. It's really balancing that and making sure that that fear isn't what's holding you back, mm-hmm. that you actually, just kind of take the leap.
Yeah. That's a good point. We have a company that did that when they hired a CEO and they sort of stepped back to more operations and marketing and stuff. Their business expanded, despite
right,
the current climate. But
so many businesses. You have a lot of consumer goods companies in the incubator, don't you? Several.
We have several. Yeah, we're all over the spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because consumer goods, I think the big thing now is just making sure that your e-commerce, right, online presence and shifting to sell. I saw that Brianna Garza with who does Chattanooga Taste, she's now putting subscription boxes together.
Yeah, I saw that.
Brilliant. A brilliant way too to get local products and push them out. Yeah. It helps everybody.
Yeah. I'm so proud of her. She's just.
We have amazing, really amazing, an amazing startup community here, even just like what I would call like in that food, kind of mm-hmm. food-centric businesses, from actual bricks and mortar restaurants to packaged goods to services like Brianna's.
Yeah, I agree. And I love how the food sector has evolved. I feel like it's a good place all of our restaurants, I usually only go to the locally owned restaurants, mm-hmm. but it's not like I don't ever get tired of them. I just rotate around, and we have, I don't know. I don't know what it is in any other city, but. I
have a friend that works in the finance department for the city, and she said it's been amazing. They're who issue all the business licenses. Mm-hmm, and she said they've actually had an increased number of new business licenses, mm-hmm. and a majority of them are for something in the food realm.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, because people are doing too what they know, right? So if you lose your job but you're like, well, I always made these awesome cheesecakes, and so I think I'm going to start making cheesecakes, or, which is great. That's.
Yeah, it's great.
Small businesses are really the backbone of our society and always have been. In fact, I've been in multiple conversations where, if cities would really just look at investing in those companies that have been in business 5+ years, that have, 15 to 20 employees, that is really where the margins of growth could be higher.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And looking at, the benefits of those, I'm sure you're in all those conversations. So
yeah, some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But trying to figure that out for myself, definitely learning how to run an online business and how to market that and how to find clients. It was great because I went into all of this with a big platform. Between the businesses, social media accounts, and my own social media accounts, I have a reach of close to 8,000 people, but that doesn't mean that everybody is the right fit for the new thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so, having to learn to find your perfect people and all that, again, is all stuff that
That's the fun part.
Okay. It can be fun, and it can also cause you to have some panic attacks, but it can be fun.
The panic attacks come and go. I tell entrepreneurs all the time, they're like, oh, I'm afraid. I'm like, listen, it's never going to go. You're always going to have some kind of fear that's going to pop up at every level of your company, no matter how successful you get.
I think the more you grow, the scarier it gets.
Yes, exactly. And
you have more at stake.
You have to learn how to live with that feeling and move past it. Just kick it aside and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you really want to be doing.
Yeah, just recognize it's a healthy companion, because don't let it overtake you. Yep. But I mean, as you are growing, I mean, there are going to be things that, you're moving into that are unknown. And with the unknown comes some fear, but that it's normal. If you're not afraid, I think I would ask myself, what is wrong? Right. What am I missing? Because things are remarkably calm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Investigate that.
Why
is it so quiet? Okay, so it's 12:51. We got a few minutes. If there's someone who ran into the same season that you did, you had this extreme high, and then all of a sudden within 30 days, like the foundation just completely
changed. Blew up.
What would be a word of advice for them? This sounds cliche, but I know in that moment, it was like a moment.
Well, I think the hardest thing for me has been to somehow not think it was somehow my fault. And so I think reminding yourself, right, that when something of a catastrophic nature happens to you, that it's not your fault, and that good can come of it. So take a breath and take a breath. And sometimes you have to do that multiple times a day, right? I mean, you can experience the highs of creativity and good things happening and new things happening, and feel the emotion of the catastrophic loss, and just know that that's part of the process. I would definitely say, recognizing that a failure of a business does not make you a failure. It's hard as an entrepreneur. We identify so closely often with our brands, and they feel like an extension of ourselves. But to recognize that who I am as a person, Amanda Nelson Varnell, and who DishT'Pass, the catering company, were not the same thing. Yeah. And while the catering company, was forced to close its doors, that is not any kind of reflection on my value as a person, my worth as a person. And if anybody tried to assign that to you, they're really not the person you want in your life anyway.
Yeah, amen.
And to be kind and gentle to yourself. I mean, I recently took a class with a life coach, not the life coach I've had forever, but one here in town. And she talked about living in the now. When you find yourself depressed, most likely you're looking back. So like a lot of the second guessing, well, what if I would have just done this? And could I have done this? And that is not a healthy place to be, or to stay. I mean, you can glean some lessons, but you can't let yourself emotionally live there. Yeah. And if you find yourself super anxious, you're probably projecting things into the future and worrying about things you don't have a lot of control over. So it's like just focusing on keeping yourself in the now, and what can I do now that is a good decision for myself, either for my physical self, my mental self, my professional self. I mean, any of these things, and just doing those little check-ins with yourself. But and then I think reminding yourself often that I built something awesome from nothing once. I can do it again.
Do it again. I have the power to do it again. Yeah.
I can do it again. It wasn't a fluke.
And you most certainly did. Who did not know DishT'Pass? If they didn't, then
they were kind of living under a rock.
Under a rock. I'll say it. You were under a rock, because DishT'Pass was everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. And that's okay. I think you're around for, and when we have these New York Times bestsellers,
Hey, I'm super excited. So one is cooking for your week, and it definitely is the whole plan, prep, put it all together along with recipes and all of that. Super excited because that really is, a passion of mine and has been for a long time. The other one, I don't have a firm title on it. Definitely will have something about food love because it's 10 family traditions that my family developed that you can replicate in your family. One of which is my favorite coming up in 2 weeks. We do Thanksgiving breakfast pie buffet. So we eat pie typically for breakfast on Thanksgiving.
Like sweet potato pie? Or
all the pies.
All the pies.
Name a pie, Alexis. We have pie for breakfast, and then we have the traditional Thanksgiving meal about 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. And then if you want another bite of pie, you can have it. But when you think about the fun desserts that are around the holidays and the fact that we put them at the end of this enormous feast and they don't get their props. So about 12 years ago, we started doing it for breakfast. Everybody's happy.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So this book is going to be about those food love, this kind of family dinner table traditions that we developed as a family and how you can replicate it in your own home. And so that's the second book that I'm working on. And so, but it's an interesting process writing a book because what sounds good in your head and then you get it down on paper, it's not a thing.
And then you're looking at the paper that's it. It was just 2 paragraphs.
Well, and then too, like I said, food has really changed. So we're much more cognizant about health, the whole, Campbell soup and casseroles and all of that, which for a bulk of my early mom years, 94 to 2004, it was all about that. And now, it's changed. And so it's figuring out, old recipes.
Table. Yes.
How do I adapt those to today's parent and working on all those things.
I love it.
So thanks for having me today. This was
thank you. This was fun. I haven't smiled this much all day. My cheeks hurt.
Good. Well, anytime. And and I have a lot of time now. So let people know if they need any kind of coaching or things like that. I definitely am available.
Yeah. How do they get in contact with you?
I think the best way is through cookingforyourweek.com, or you can find me on social media, Amanda Nelson Varnell, and just DM me, private message me, email me through the website. That's the best way.
And don't forget the Nelson, Amanda Nelson.
Nelson Varnell. It's right here on my screen. I can see my name under my face. Can you?
Yeah, you can see it.
There you go.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.